Actually, sorry, I want to go back actually because I think you talked a little bit about why you chose Flutter, right? So now having spent so much time in Flutter and kind of not using Flutter so much in terms of like, you know, uh, the other capabilities it has where you can build a desktop app, you can build a web app. Do you still feel like happy that you're using Flutter? And do you also find that because you have a strong web background that you can actually do Flutter quite well?
Yeah, I think so. I think the latter part of your question for sure. Yes, I think it is like React Native. It definitely helps ease people like me who don't have a background in native mobile app development into this paradigm of development much easier, and for sure it is definitely easier. Your for The first part of the question, do we are we happy with using Flutter? I think yes. I think definitely. I think one of the things that we were quite keen on with Flutter is the what people call DX, the developer experience of it as well. React Native definitely suffered early on from this, and we were very wary of like saying like, hey, let's do it. And we speaking with the mobile app developers as well, and they have native experience. They felt that Flutter, especially on the mobile app, you would have potentially better performance and better consistent design, and that definitely saves everyone a lot of time as well. What about you, Marco?
Yeah, for DX, I can add more. Like as like a pretty new person to Flutter, I found that like the plugins to popular IDEs like VS Code that pretty high quality and definitely helps in like easing me into using Dart and also like getting familiarized with the components. Like the auto suggest um, features are usually working really well. So yeah, and from a React background, they definitely look similar. I mean, the whole structure, and also like another thing I've experienced is that the build and deployment process are also pretty seamless. Like the Flutter provides a lot of these like functionalities out of the box, and I tried like Android Studio. The yeah new versions they do have really good Flutter support, and thinking back to my experience with React Native, yeah, it was definitely not that smooth sometimes when you're compiling the actual mobile apps for deployment or for like submitting to app stores.
Yeah, I could definitely agree. I just remember the few times I tried, I don't know what happened. The one thing I do like about Flutter is it's very clear about kind of like where's the entry point for your code, and also like things are a little bit more standard. I feel, although it's not really standard necessarily, but you can kind of follow your app structure. Like with React Native, I it just kind of created code and like everybody had their own starter, and so you didn't know which one to use. And then if you did use that one, maybe it's not going to be supported because it is still JavaScript and you don't know who's going to bend what day. At least for me, that
Um,
Yeah,
that may be React itself as well, because React is more of a view library, a philosophy into managing the view more than it being a framework. Whereas Flutter, I guess, is a little bit more of a framework, a way to build mobile cross-platform applications themselves. So that is definitely a point for Flutter for sure. And React in general suffers from this. That's why you have things like Next.js, which provides a little bit of
a little bit more
opinion to
structure. Yeah,
structuring. Yeah, which we like.
yeah, it's hard to say, right? Because there's benefits to being able to do what you want to do, but at the same time, I think you guys are also Rails, a Rails shop too, right? You're still using Rails for a lot of things, or at least Ruby, right? So there's also this kind of idea of convention over configuration. No,
Yeah, on the back end we use Ruby, not Rails, just Ruby.
not okay.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of, I mean, whenever you work in a team, I think having some kind of rules that everyone follows along is probably a little bit easier when you onboard new people, and that's kind of the thing with Rails, right? Like, you know, you onboard new people, they know what's going on, they know where things go, they know how to name things, and you don't really need to provide too much guidance or be too wary of this stuff. Uh, if it's a personal project, do whatever you want. But when you start doing a team effort, you kind of want to lay down some of these things. So opinionated structure is probably best. And I guess Flutter excels in this aspect over React.